Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is HollowMelon, and today in this video what we're going to be doing is taking some packaging from the last project that where we put casters on a piece of Neptune furniture. It came really nicely packaged with some plywood, so now what we're going to be doing is making a cabinet for all the Neptune paint so that we can easily select what paint we want to use. Here's the concept drawing that this was our kind of basic idea of what we wanted, and let's get into the montage. Okay, so what we're doing now is because the plywood was stuck together with really strong wood glue, it actually took off one of the first sheets of plywood that makes, well, one of the first sheets of wood that makes up the plywood, so we're just scraping that off. Okay, for the same reason we also need to fill some of the gaps in the wood. Okay, so now what we're doing is marking up all our pieces of wood to figure out how many shelves we could get out of it. We're using a carpenter's square so that it's all, well, nice and square, ready for the saw. Okay, so we worked out that we could get 10 different shelves out of the piece of wood that we had, so 5 for each cabinet. So because they were only 10 centimeters, we knew that we could just use the miter saw instead of setting up the table saw. Okay, so here you can see measuring the kerf of the saw, so the thickness of the table saw, to see how much material would be taken away when we cut. It will take away the thickness of the actual blade, so we're trying to maximize the amount of material that we could get out this piece of wood that we just had lying around. So we're cutting this in half to make the frame of our 2 cabinets. So now what we're going to be doing is cutting a little groove in all our pieces of wood to accept both our shelves and the backboard of the cabinet. So now that the fill is dry, we're just going to sand it all down on our 10 shelves. You've seen us do this a bunch in other videos. A good way to make sure that all your shelves are going to line up absolutely perfectly is to actually cut the grooves all together and then afterwards cut them in 2. So this is what we're doing here. We're just using a little hand planer just to get rid of some of the wood chips in the grooves. We've set the saw blade to 45 degrees to cut all the miters in the frame, this so that it all lines up very nicely and gives the glue a good surface to bond to. So now what we're doing is just gluing it and clamping it all up. We're putting lots of glue in the channels just so that it stays nice and strong. So now what we're going to be doing is measuring and cutting a piece of hardboard for the back of the cabinet. So now what we're doing is ripping a piece of pallet wood to create a frame or border for our cabinet. And as you've seen plenty of times before, we're using the miter saw to get a very nice angle. It's time to do a quick alignment check. Get the glue pot out, staple the back, and use that square to get a nice sharp 45-degree edge. So you've probably seen a really nice montage of these shelves being made out of the packaging of the Neptune piece of furniture that we got. So this is the plywood that came, and we've just ripped it up on the table saw. But now what we're going to be doing is unclamping all of this. We've basically done this in the same way as we did with the frames, having a 45-degree miter on it so that it all slots really nicely together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this off. We didn't want to put staples on the front because we want this to be really nice, and this wood is going to be kept bare, this little border going around all of it. What we're going to be doing on the outside is we're going to go with our standard salt, but on the inside we're going to have one of them, we've got 2 of them made up. We're going to have one of them with a teal, kind of representing, I guess, Makita tools, and then we're going to have the burning red representing the Einhell tools. You can see the vacuum cleaner there. So yeah, let's get painting. Okay, so we've got all our painting stuff out, and we've masked up the sides, the border around, so that we don't get any paint on the border, because we want that to be plain wood. We've also covered the workbench. You really don't need to do this if you're working on some workbench, but if you're doing this in your house, you definitely want to mask it up. Basically, if you care about it, mask it up. If you don't, then don't. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna get painting. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is moving on to the second cabinet, the burning red. We finished with the teal, that's all painted. We're going to let that dry, and while we're doing that, we can paint the second one. Okay, so we painted them, we let them set up. I think they turned out absolutely amazing. You can see the teal and the burnt red that have turned out really nicely. I thought they weren't going to match that well, but actually they've matched the tools perfectly. We're going for an Einhell and a Makita, which is those are the two brands that we mainly feature in the workshop. And yeah, they've done really well. So now what we've done is masked off all of this because these are the borders that go round. And we want to have the best adhesion between the glue and the wood on here. So when we're varnishing, we don't want to get any varnish on that. So we're going to varnish them now. We're going to paint this after we take the masking tape off, and then hopefully we can peel the tape off here, and it will be all good. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!